Yo, yo, yo. It's the first episode. Word to the streets. Alright, so we're out here in the wooded area. There's lots of sounds. I think it's just wood sounds, but still. The wind is going to be a problem. I'm trying to get this episode set to go. The kids are about to have a week off school for Thanksgiving, so it's like my last chance to record this. I came to the woods for peace, and now it's windy. So now I'm going to have to yell. Okay, so the title of the episode, God Save Ohio, was inspired by a documentary I watched, God Save Texas. God Save Texas sounded interesting, and I was not disappointed. So the actual creator of the movie Dazed and Confused, Richard Linklater, took us to his hometown in Texas, described as a town built on the business of incarceration. So you can tell where I'm going with this. So there's 3 episodes on Max. At HBO.com it says, Texas filmmakers return to their hometowns, chronicling the complex history of each city while examining the toll that the prison system, oil business, and border laws have on those communities. So it's basically the traumatic backstory of Dazed and Confused. And I was pretty disturbed just to see the town like within proximity to the execution chamber. Is that somewhere you want to live with your children, your loved ones? Freaky stuff. The threat of imprisonment looms large, literally. So them boys in the movie would be getting hard time had they been caught for their weed smoking. Okay, so according to Google, Texas has played a significant role in the development of the U.S. prison system and is considered to be a leader in the field of incarcerating people. Okay, WTF. So Huntsville is where Richard Linklater is from and was the first state prison, okay? Texas State Penitentiary opened in 1849, 1 year after the state legislature created the penitentiary system. So this horrific torture chamber has stood there for over 150 years, enacting forces of evil. Great. But Linklater described how his mother was involved with activism in support of incarcerated people and actually would set up a concession stand outside the prison. She would encounter those released and offer uplifting words, which in my mind, I'm thinking exactly like, shouldn't we be making concessions for criminals at this point? Like, it's gone too far. I think we can all agree that the justice system is fraught AF and filled with power-hungry trolls enacting their state-sanctioned violence through patrols and paperwork. Okay, but let me catch my breath. We're not here to talk about Texas, though it is important to note that we have identified patient 0 as far as the illness of incarceration goes, okay? So a place whose policing problems with which I am familiar would be that of Ohio, this is like the whole reason for felonfund. God Save Ohio, okay? We got to start somewhere. And this is why I created the channels, to give me an opportunity to speak my piece, warn others as I slowly but surely disintegrate from society and go live in the woods, okay? Yes. So back to Ohio. So it is really unfortunate to see the situation with Ohio. I just feel like more should be done to mitigate the damage done to communities by the drug crisis. Like, we know there are actual perpetrators behind this. Corporations are to blame and have been implicated in these crimes. And also, on a side note, we have to consider what they're doing as far as unmitigated dumping into our waterways and purposely building prisons near so-called toxic Superfund sites. We're going to go into that too. Freaking crazy. Okay. Unmitigated dumping and purposely building prisons in the toxic areas. We now have Ohio River on the top 10 endangered waterways. So corporations are to blame, and the conditions in Ohio, last time I checked, not looking good. So I just wish there was a way for Ohio to be made whole, but I know that's an impossible goal. You can't restore every lost soul. They're dead, and heart turns cold stone. What life could have been, you never know. Okay, so going through my notes, I found this quote from Nelson Mandela, who says, like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. Also said, overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. Okay, so it's good to know someone shares my feelings. Okay, as long as poverty, injustice, and gross inequality exist, none of us can truly rest. That's how I feel, okay? Oh, this is exactly how I feel. The less meds I take and the clearer my mind becomes, the more and more disgusted and disturbed I become at the thought of what has taken place in this country. However, Mr. Mandela also said education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Agreed. Head on over to Misadventures, where I'll tell you about my miseducation. But the point is, poverty upholds capitalism. Corporations continuously prioritize wealth over the needs of workers, often providing low wages, poor working conditions, and lack of benefits. Also involved in unfair trade practices and exploitation of immigrant workers. We're only getting started here. Okay, so I just don't think the average American understands just how pervasive this issue is when it comes to the exploitation of workers. This is where they're getting their cheap labor. Immigrants and prisoners, maybe even juvenile prisoners too, okay? But that's a topic for another day. Where am I going with this? I guess the point is we've got to stop all the blaming and shaming of those who are struggling. The fact is, these are engineered circumstances. Many Americans fall victim to, so. Like our older generations have been able to reap benefits that are simply unavailable in this day and age. And we cannot overlook the looming threat of the planned recession. Remember Elon promising temporary hardship, WTF, and their mass deportation plans will trigger severe labor shortages in construction and agriculture, which equals price hikes, and expect them to use the myth of migrant crime to justify their plans for mass surveillance. That's what's going to happen. Okay. All right, this brings me back to the topic of Ohio. Okay. Yeah, I had no idea that Ohio is like a running joke on the internet. I've only been on Wi-Fi since 2019, so I'm still learning. Peppa Pig in Ohio, my son likes to watch that. Interesting. But at the same time, I can totally understand the legend. Think how many legends have come out of Ohio. The origin of the oil industry. Prince, Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Those characters from Cleveland. The Care Bears, they're from Cleveland. And of course our friend Cat Williams. If you know like I know, you should lie low. Dipset? Okay, so Ohio has been through enough. I was so beyond disgusted when they dragged Ohio into this election mess. J.D. Vance should be ashamed of himself. And where is J.D. Vance today? I don't see him with the MAGA crew. Okay, is he in a timeout? Okay, wait. If he cared about his constituents' complaints, maybe pay Springfield a visit. Nah, this keyboard killer tough on Twitter, making posts hating Haitians. Full of games, PlayStation. Okay, I think this whole fiasco with they're eating the dogs, doesn't this prove The Simpsons live in Ohio, okay? The Simpsons takes place in Springfield, Ohio, and it has been proven. Does anyone remember when they had the contest? Remember, they're like, which Springfield is The Simpsons take place in? And they picked Vermont or some shit? No. Dumbass Vermont. Okay. Alright. Okay. Or some shit, right? What the fuck? Okay, so anyways, we haven't seen much of Vance these days. Like, he not with the Trump crew? Is he on punishment? Maybe having second thoughts about working with the man he himself called Hitler? Is J.D. Vance the new Mike Pence? That'd be great. We can only hope. Fingers crossed. You can still redeem yourself. Maybe he could be a whistleblower. Not likely, but time will tell. Okay. My arm is getting tired. Alright. Alright. So, we're here to talk about my vision. Alright? I just think we should start at ground zero. Ohio is trauma central. Oh, I forgot to mention, I wore my vintage Ohio tee. Yay. Okay, and, okay. Ohio is trauma central, hit especially hard by the drug crisis, for which there has been little to no recourse. The good news, however, is that the distribution of the